Good evening. I'm Forrest Sawyer, and this is Day One. Tonight.
From democracy to drugs, America's old adversary is now trying to be more like us. Under the communists, the drug problem did not officially exist. Now, it can no longer be denied.
The police don't have the experience in conducting investigations of criminal organizations. Basically, this is all new to them.
We flew in a chartered Red Army helicopter with a Red Army pilot. Those who tend the poppy patches ran for cover as we approached. It was unnecessary. There's little the authorities could do, even if they wanted to.
The police knew where to find each of these students because the college had given them a list that detailed the names and addresses of all 125 black male students.
They actually see my hands, both my sitting hands, so like the shoulders, my hands, you know.
They know exactly where I lived. They had my dorm and my name they know exactly where to find me.
How are your civil rights violated by cooperating in a police investigation and answering a few questions?
In a police state, what they did was quite reasonable. We don't have a police state here.
Is this a racist town?
No more than America. No more than America itself.
This is the story of one man's extraordinary love for the music and the people who made it.
I'm what I consider a very, very rich person. I have the experiences of having been able to associate myself with people like Joe Williams and Duke Ellington and Basie and hanging out with them. And if it wasn't for the camera, I never would have had a chance to do that, ever.
He knew the people, he knew what the music was about. He knows how to do it, he knows just what to shoot.
Forrest Sawyer, Sheila McVicker, John Hockenberry, Michelle McQueen, Jay Schaefer, and Lisa McCree. This is Day One.
First tonight, the story of a man who sits on death row in Huntsville, Texas, who could be executed within the next 3 weeks. Gary Graham's death would be one of the most controversial executions in years. 15,000 people have signed a petition for clemency. 20 bishops from Texas have asked that his case be reviewed. Now, what drew the attention of these people was not simply their opposition to the death penalty. They are convinced there is reasonable doubt about Gary Graham's guilt. Whether you believe in the death penalty or not, this case does raise a critical question. How certain must society be about a person's guilt before putting him to death? Day One's John Hockenberry went to Huntsville, Texas for the story.
There is a room in Huntsville Prison where Gary Graham will spend his last hours. He will be brought here on the morning of June 3rd. He will sit for several hours by himself, and then he will be led down a 10-foot corridor. He will be strapped down to this bed. A lethal injection will be administered, and Gary Graham will be executed. Today, Gary Graham pleads for his life to anyone who will listen, through thick glass, behind a locked door.
You can't bring me back to life a couple of years later and say we made a mistake. You have to listen to the evidence now. That's the question. That's what we're dealing with here.
Houston, Texas, May 13th, 1981, 9:30 p.m. A supermarket parking lot. Among the shoppers was a 53-year-old Arizona man, Bobby Lambert. He was approached by someone with a gun. He was robbed, shot, and killed. Lambert's death was one of 701 homicides in Houston in 1981, and his killing was one event in a particularly violent month. Gary Graham was arrested shortly after Lambert's death, but not for the murder, for a spree of 10 armed robberies and 2 other brutal shootings. Police had no evidence to connect Graham to the murder. In fact, they had few leads in the Lambert case. No physical evidence, no fingerprints, no murder weapon. But they did have eyewitnesses, and so the police did what they usually do. They assembled mugshots of men with criminal records. 2 witnesses were shown a series of photos. In one photo display was the face of Gary Graham. After initially making no identification, one of the witnesses, a Houston woman, picked Gary Graham out of a live lineup. He was charged with murder, and that single witness became the linchpin of the prosecution case.
I found her to be a very credible, very believable person. I believed her testimony. She was convinced, without the slightest hesitation, that Gary Graham committed this offense, and I agreed with her.
Former Judge Richard Trevathan presided over 17-year-old Gary Graham's trial. He has vivid memories of the prosecution's star witness and of Gary Graham.
Gary Graham, through his persona and the testimony that I heard in the courtroom, was one of the most evil people that I'd ever been around.
Gary Graham has his own vivid memories of the trial. He says he wanted to take the stand, but says he was advised by his court-appointed attorney not to. His attorney called no one to the stand who might have challenged the prosecution's case.
Nobody would listen. No one believed me. I sit there and I tell my attorney that I was innocent, and he never even attempted to go out and talk to the witnesses.
The defense attorney was unavailable to talk to Day One, but has publicly defended his handling of the case. A Texas judge has found that Gary Graham's original attorney did not do a poor job. Gary Graham's trial lasted 2 days. The verdict was guilty.
I thought it was the proper verdict. It was a very quick verdict. I noted in my notes that the jury was out 20 minutes, only 20 minutes before they returned a verdict of guilty.
Even Gary Graham wasn't surprised by the verdict.
Based on the evidence that was presented to the jury, I think they reached the only verdict, logical verdict that could have been reached. Guilty, based on the evidence that was presented.
Now came the sentencing. The prosecution asked for the death penalty and introduced evidence excluded from the original trial. The jury would now learn a lot more about Gary Graham and his past, about his extensive criminal record.
And also remember that these offenses were all committed within a very short period. He was a one-man rampage on the city of Houston.
12 years ago, I was a young kid, 17 years old, time I was arrested, involved in several robberies that I was arrested for and admitted to. You know, I've never really professed to be a saint or anything like that, but I've never killed anyone.
But who's to say you're not just a violent, patterned, habitual offender?
Okay, I think that's the question that we're trying to get to right now. But the question that what Texas is trying to execute me for is the murder of Bobby Lambert. I did not kill Bobby Lambert.
12 years ago, the jury never got to hear Gary Graham say that. Wilma Amos, one of the eyewitnesses to the crime, was called to the stand. They asked her about the crime scene, but there was one question that no one asked her: whether Gary Graham shot Bobby Lambert. If they had, Wilma Amos would have said no.
And you say that that man was not Gary Graham.
No, that wasn't Gary Graham.
How can you be so sure Gary Graham isn't the man that shot Mr. Lambert?
Because I was at the store the night the guy, Mr. Lambert, got killed.
No one asked these women either. They are friends and relatives of Gary Graham. They claim he has an alibi, that he was watching TV and hanging out with friends 15 miles from the supermarket at the time of the murder.
I went to his trial, and I also told his lawyer that I was there to be a witness on his behalf, to tell him that, you know, to testify that he was with me at the time that this circumstance happened.
What happened?
I didn't get a chance to testify.
Why not?
Because his lawyer told me that it was over with. That was all right. He didn't need me.
All 3 of these alibi witnesses have passed polygraph tests, but because of the law in the state of Texas, they may never get a chance to testify. Attorney Mandy Welch has been fighting to get Gary Graham's case reopened and save his life, but Texas law is firm on the issue of new evidence in a murder case.
Once the trial is over, no one pays attention to the facts of a case like this. That is unfortunate, but that it's true. You can't raise new evidence in Texas unless it comes in 30 days after the judgment and sentence is imposed.
Are you saying that someone who's innocent would be executed just because there's no way to schedule a hearing to take a look at the evidence?
Yes. I mean, that's very possible. And there's no, unless someone with the power to stop the execution agrees to listen to the evidence and make a meaningful determination about his guilt or innocence, He will be executed on June 3rd, and it will have nothing to do with whether or not he's guilty or innocent.
Gary Graham has been scheduled to die here twice already. The Texas State Board of Pardons has reviewed Graham's new evidence and decided to take no action. But the board has never, and there is no reason to believe it will ever, allow that evidence to be heard and cross-examined in an open hearing, as defense attorneys want. Only if the board reverses itself at the 11th hour will Gary Graham live beyond June 3rd.
I hope the Board of Pardons and Paroles will listen to his evidence and that he will not be executed.
But what's your gut feeling?
I don't think he's going to be executed. I do not think the state of Texas wants to go on record as executing somebody who has substantial evidence of innocence that no one has stopped to listen to.
Is that the real state of Texas, or is that the state of Texas you want to believe?
It's the state of Texas I want to believe in.
So what's your gut feeling?
I can't believe they'll execute him.
In the last few weeks, another witness. The police have taken a statement from Houston construction worker Malcolm Stevens. He was also in the parking lot the night of the Lambert shooting. He was not heard from 12 years ago. He claims that a man other than Gary Graham was running from the Safeway parking lot that night in 1981.
Do you think if you had come forward 12 years ago, that Gary Graham would be facing execution today?
What I think, if the police had done the work in the right manner, they wouldn't have an innocent man on death row.
Finally, the widow of the murder victim, Bobby Lambert, has asked the state of Texas to spare Gary Graham. "I do not want the execution of a possibly innocent man on my conscience," she wrote. Gary Graham knows that time is running out. For him, the system has spoken.
And no one is listening. And you know, you're saying, why won't somebody listen? Why? Why not listen to the evidence? That's all. Let the chips fall where they may, but you must listen to the evidence.
I was convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that Gary Graham committed this offense. Nothing has happened in the 12 years since then to cause me to change my mind, to not believe that Gary Graham committed this crime. I think that the system functioned in the way that it was intended to function. The system is not executing Gary Graham. Gary Graham basically put himself in a position of being executed by what he did.
In a month?
In less than a month. And we're talking about in less than 3 weeks.
You're gone.
If no one listens to the evidence, if no one intervenes, we
won't have this conversation.
We won't.
What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Gut feeling?
I will survive. I'm hoping.
As of now, the Texas State Board of Pardons and Paroles has no plans to review Gary Graham's case again. But it is important to point out that even if he does avoid execution, Graham will be in prison for a long time. He's also been sentenced to 10 20-year terms for armed robberies unrelated to his murder conviction. And those sentences are not under dispute.
Coming up on Day One, a new plague in the old Soviet Union.
It's considered to be a cool thing to be addicted to drugs.
Fighting the drug war on the new Russian front. Also tonight, lasting images of some legendary musicians.
This is my visual record of that musical moment. That's the great joy of this kind of work.
From the Duke to the Count, the royalty of jazz through the lens of a master. As Day One continues.
Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealers know some problems can't be diagnosed in the shop. So they give their technicians a unique traveling companion, the Portable Vehicle Analyzer. It records engine data in ways no human eyes and ears can. Then it tells us what's wrong, so it can be serviced right the first time. Ford and Lincoln Mercury Quality Care, where the quality continues.
She hasn't seen Richard in months. Her train is 4 hours late. Her name is Alyssa. and she's constipated. Get over it. Get X-Lax. It's a pill. It's gentle. It works.
You are here. He has the traveler's checks here. What can you do? Well, do this. Carry American Express traveler's checks for 2. The only checks either of you can use. Don't leave home without them.
I'm a nurse, and I'm a nurse first, and I'm an Aetna employee second. The care is first. You know, is that patient being handled appropriately? I would hope that we would all care about patients the way we would ourselves or our own family members. And that's the way I see it, that, you know, that's my job.
It's been nearly 2 years since the Soviet Union fell apart. 2 years to learn that even peaceful revolution has its price. The tight controls of the communist state have often given way to chaos and crime. And that is the perfect breeding ground for a plague that's all too familiar to us: drugs and addiction. Tonight, Sheila McVicker takes us from Moscow to a critical source of that plague, Central Asia. Their fields of opium poppies are now feeding the international drug trade. And the people of the former Soviet Union are learning a new kind of Russian roulette.
Inside a Moscow apartment, a scene familiar in the United States 20 years ago. The shades are lowered. Bob Dylan plays in the stereo. There's marijuana to roll into joints. But on this night, these young Russians will try something more potent than marijuana. In the needle, opium mixed with water. Refined and concentrated, it would become heroin. The first track mark in an unblemished arm. Sasha, not yet 20, is trying the hard stuff for the first time. From democracy to drugs, America's old adversary is now trying to be more like us. Under the communists, the drug problem did not officially exist. Now, it can no longer be denied. Like police in the U.S., the Russians are taking on the junkies and dealers in the streets. There are now narcotics police, but only 40 for all of Moscow. They say that's not nearly enough. The problem grows daily. And now they videotape arrests to show how busy they are fighting drugs. The Moscow police have also learned from Western drug police how to run their own sting operations and the public relations value of releasing videotape of those that go as planned. In Moscow, there's even a drug czar.
It gets worse and worse with every year, each month and even each day. And worst of all, people don't even know how bad it is.
The drug czar recruited an American to help them figure out what to do. Drug policy analyst Rence Lee found a nation that does not yet comprehend what it will have to face.
Drugs were considered to be a phenomenon peculiar to decadent capitalist society, something that could not happen here. Well, now they're paying the price for this in the sense that police don't have the experience in conducting investigations of criminal organizations. The banks don't know how to control money laundering. They don't know what it is. You know, basically, this is all new to them.
The end of the communist regime has only strengthened the powerful Russian mafia. Organized crime has moved into the narcotics business. When these police tapes of Moscow street corner drug deals catch a corrupt cop in the act, it's not a surprise. It's hard to stop drugs when the police who make the bus are the same ones who make the deals.
Traditionally, Soviet police was very corrupted, and in many ways, part of the police fought the crime and other part of the police actually organized the crime. And I think that the same thing is going on.
Russian commentator Artyom Troitsky took us to one of the many new Moscow street markets. Everything is for sale, even guns and drugs. A country once controlled to the extreme is now free to repeat the disastrous mistakes of others.
I'm afraid that we can become a junkie country. Forget Bolivia, Central Asia will be the place.
The drugs in Moscow come from another part of the former Soviet Union, the Central Asian republics. The 5 republics make up an area larger than Europe. The people are mostly Islamic, rich in art and history. In the city of Samarkand in the Republic of Uzbekistan, farmers and townspeople gather in one of the world's oldest marketplaces, pausing in their business only to watch a rarity, visiting Westerners. Nothing they sell here legally can earn as much as the illegal opium poppy. As Bolivians once grew small patches of coca leaves for their own use, Uzbeks planted opium in their back gardens. But the backyard poppy patch has gotten out of hand and is now the responsibility of Uzbekistan's chief drug fighter, Major Bem Bembayev. We asked him to show us a part of the country notorious for drug production, the Fergana Valley, remote, almost inaccessible, and now turning green with ever-spreading poppy fields. We flew in a chartered Red Army helicopter with a Red Army pilot. In this new nation, even the Red Army is for sale. Unaware that we were merely sightseeing, those who tend the poppy patches ran for cover as we approached. It was unnecessary. There's little the authorities could do, even if they wanted to. The Major was hoping to find the opium farmers, but the growers just sat beyond reach and watched and waited for us to leave. In one quick harvest, and there can be more than one a year, a farmer can make a year's legal salary, about $100. Each harvested patch is worth about $3,000 to the men who control the fields. On the day we were with him, Uzbekistan's head drug fighter captured only the lunch sack of a field worker, but he promised to return. How will you get people back here in time to get rid of these opium poppies before the people we're seeing on the hillsides can come down and harvest them?
Well, that's a big problem. This is a large plantation, and it will be very hard to reach. But we will come back here tomorrow to destroy these fields.
I can't believe that you could grow this kind of stuff in these kinds of river valleys. You can build these fences, these terraces, you can fertilize, irrigate, and not have someone on some local authority that level there somewhere simply turned a blind eye to it.
We have a double control, so I don't think this could happen.
The Major says he does not take bribes to leave the crop alone. But if, as promised, he wanted to come back to destroy the fields, he would need the approval of the other half of the double control, local militia leader Jozil Turzanov. The breakup with the Soviet Union means men like Turzanov are more powerful than ever, all on a salary equivalent to $20 a month. We accepted his hospitality and a meal of fresh-killed lamb. And then we tried to get the subject back to the war he is supposed to be waging against drugs. How do you get your men to the places where the poppy fields are? How do you get them to the places where they can destroy the fields?
We have been asking local officials to help us deal with this problem. They have given us a car, but this is still not enough.
Sources told us that Turzanov, responsible for eradicating drugs, had gotten rich from his cut of local drug production. Just one more rung on the ladder of corruption.
Many, many people, officials included, well beyond the drug traffickers themselves, are involved in the whole process.
For more than a decade, Nancy Lubin has studied the systematic corruption that is now fueling Central Asia's drug culture.
I think anybody who grows up in that system, whether it's paying off the traffic cops who stop you on the street, whether it's paying a little something here or a little something there to get whatever it is you might need for your own family survival, I think anybody starts to understand what are the rules of the game of this society. You understand how that system works, you understand your own role in it, and you don't necessarily look at yourself as evil or corrupt, but you look at yourself as part of something bigger.
East of Uzbekistan is the Republic of Kyrgyzstan. The new borders are now policed by just a few men who each make about $15 a month. When they stop a bus, it means a visit from one of the few trained narcotics specialists in Kyrgyzstan, Dasha the drug dog. On this day, Dasha earned her keep. She found bags of marijuana smuggled by a man and 2 women. One told us she was pregnant and desperate for money. But the 15 kilos Dasha found are a minor bus compared to the tons of drugs smuggled across the border, says the chief of Kyrgyzstan's drug squad, Andrei Zelechenko. Still, today's haul was big enough for Zelechenko to proudly display it for our camera.
The narco-mafia has tentacles everywhere. We have set up an anti-drug agency, but we need outside support. We've started a fundraising drive to try to match the resources of the drug dealers. We hope to buy computers and typewriters.
Wait a minute, the Drug Enforcement Agency of Kyrgyzia has had to have, like, charity bazaars to buy typewriters and computers?
That's right. We have started a charity fund.
The railway network of the former Soviet Union is a nearly foolproof smuggling route. In early morning fog, men are at work loading opium on a train bound for Moscow. Always hard to detect, now almost impossible to catch. There is now no system for exchanging information and intelligence. Cops in one part of the country no longer speak to cops elsewhere. Traffickers know they can easily board trains at the switching points where they slow down. Once in a great while, the police stake out the switching points and surprise the traffickers. On this day, the suspects were shot at and even busted, but they will probably go unpunished. As yet, no one has bothered to pass the laws needed to try to control the drug trade. And increasingly, the enormous profits mean enormous power.
We don't want to see these societies in Russia and Central Asia dominated, taken over by organized criminal interests. That is, we have an interest, we have a stake in the kinds of societies that are emerging from communist rule.
We went back to the poppy fields Major Bembayev had promised to destroy 2 weeks earlier. We disturbed the opium farmers at work on the harvest. Where Bembayev had stood and sworn to return to burn down the fields, we found poppy heads scored with the cuts of the harvest. Where was Major Bembayev? We found him in other fields with just a few soldiers trying to destroy opium at its source. But the only way to destroy a young poppy plant is to uproot it and burn it. You cannot kick it to death. Everyone knows who is serious about this business, and it is not those who wear the uniforms. This spring, and with each coming spring from this part of the world, there will be more poppies than ever before, and that means more opium, more cheap heroin, heading not just for Moscow, but for Europe, and experts say, even America.
The State Department has acknowledged the heroin threat from Central Asia, but because of federal budget cuts, the Clinton administration is shifting resources away from international drug control. And so as drug trafficking takes hold in the former East Bloc, America's Drug Enforcement Agency still has no office in that part of the world.
Coming up on day one, a small-town police investigation triggers a confrontation over race.
You see that dark skin, it just intimidates them. They automatically assume that it's crime.
I say they have a chip on their shoulder, and this onerous burden is baloney.
The story when day one continues.
At Hillshire Farm, we know it's hard to keep lunch interesting. Day after day after day. So Hillshire Farm gives you delicious varieties of sliced meats like brown sugar baked ham, pastrami, and honey roasted turkey breast, slow roasted in their natural juices. And with over 17 varieties, you get the same reaction.
Yes.
Every time. You can taste the difference when it comes from Hillshire Farm.
Introducing something very, very fast. It can take you from 0 to 3,500. The new Ford Citibank Visa card. You get the security of a Citibank Visa, and 5% of everything you purchase goes towards a new Ford or Lincoln or Mercury. You could earn a rebate of up to $3,500 2 years faster than any other basic auto rebate card. The new Ford Citibank Visa. Now this is a better idea.
Don't be so mean to your hair.
Damage caused by everyday styling soon adds up. VO5 Hot Oil penetrates and conditions your hair deep down. For daily damage, get the weekly repair VO5 Hot Oil.
With Purina Dog Chow, grown-up dogs get the 100% complete and balanced nutrition they need to stay fit and healthy. And keep up the daily grind. Dog Chow Adult Formula from Purina.
He brought you Platoon and JFK. Now he brings you the future.
I'll be announcing my candidacy for president. The senator shows us the way.
They took my children from me. You killed for them. How many, Paige?
We're gonna find out that our country no longer belongs to us and nobody will even care. Did you think there wasn't a price to pay?
Wild Palms is something special.
Tomorrow we're going to the desert. We're going to set the palms on fire.
TV doesn't get any bolder than this. Oliver Stone's Wild Palms, starting tonight.
Now a day one follow-up. Last week we told you about Japan's efforts to resume commercial whaling. It all came to a head this past week in Kyoto, Japan, at a meeting of the International Whaling Commission. The Japanese wanted permission to resume limited whale hunting close to their shores. The commission voted no. So the ban continues, despite Japan's efforts to promote whaling with demonstrations like this. Norway says it will defy the ban and begin commercial whale hunting this year.
Day one will continue after this from our ABC stations.
Monday, drug dealers posing as cops are killing other dealers on an all-new FBI The Untold Stories. Then, to a narcotics officer, a good informant can get him to bust.
Oh, move, Donald!
A bad informant can get him killed on an all-new American Detective Monday.
Day one continues. Once again, Forrest Sawyer.
Ask anyone in America if he or she is a racist, and the vast majority will say absolutely not. So how is it that racism is such a problem in this country? We'll show you how. By telling you about something that happened in a small town in upstate New York, where all the people involved were convinced they were doing the right thing. Michelle McQueen has the story.
For all of the African Americans who have made it in America, all the executives, all the professionals, all the athletes, all the celebrities, there are still some people who see these black faces as alien, even threatening. And every now and again, something happens that brings this uneasy sense of difference into sharp focus in a way that is painful for people on both sides of the racial divide. Something like that happened last fall in a small city called Oneonta in upstate New York. And now the people of Oneonta are struggling to answer some hard questions about race, rights, and justice.
I was violated. It was like I was raped of my constitutional rights. When my mother cried over it, that's when it really, my mother cried over it.
When I was recruited up here, I thought it was the best place on earth.
It began on the morning of September 4th, 1992. An intruder entered this isolated house through an unlocked patio door. He made his way to a guest room where a 76-year-old woman was sleeping. What woke you up?
A weight
someone was on top of me, and a voice, someone was saying, "Do as I say," and a knife. It happened too fast for me to be terrified. I was furious, I was angry, I was violated.
In your view, what was this?
Attempted rape. Attempted rape.
A struggle ensued. Both were cut, and the man fled, leaving behind a trail of blood. Ken Hall edits the local paper and heard some of the first reports of the crime. For this area, was this a very unusual type of crime?
Very unusual. Violence between people who don't know each other is rare, and that's why it was a front page story, not a police blotter item.
The crime was unusual for another reason. The assailant was identified as black.
They said, "Can you describe him? How can you describe someone in the dark who's on top of you?" The only thing I saw was part of his arm, and it obviously was the arm of a black man.
The police began to focus on this racial identification. They knew that of the 14,000 people in Oneonta, roughly 300 were young black men. And of those, 125 were students at the State University College at Oneonta, called SUCO. Paul Howe and Darrell Taylor were questioned by police outside their dormitory.
He asked to see my hands. Both of us had hands, so like his shoulders, high hands. And
flip him over. And we didn't know what they wanted to see, They did it so fast.
Larry Plaskett was stopped by the police downtown as he boarded a bus home to New York City.
He puts his hand out in front of me like this, and he's like, "You can't get on the bus unless I check your hands."
They know exactly where I lived. They had my dorm and my name exactly. They know exactly where to find me.
The police knew where to find each of these students because the college had given them a list that detailed the names and addresses of all 125 black male students.
We didn't go in and ask for a list per se. We just asked the public safety people that we wanted to interview, people on campus. And how should we go about this was with the least disruption.
To the law enforcement officials involved, all of whom were white, the list was the most efficient way of investigating the crime. To many black students, the list was a clear violation of their civil rights and a breach of federal privacy laws.
They know where we live, and they can find out where you live.
When word of the list spread on campus, a protest erupted against the college administration.
What was down was wrong.
Much of the anger was directed at Dr. Leif Hartmark, the college vice president who released the list. Dr. Hartmark later admitted his mistake and apologized to the students, but it did little to quell emotions on campus.
Your parents can. How can some stranger come into a school and ask for a list of black people on campus?
To many students, both black and white, a nerve had been touched by what they saw as explicit racism.
And for him to expose everyone is totally racially biased. It was just
No.
Yes,
but others challenged this as an overreaction.
But you're making it like he did it because he's racial. He didn't do it because he's racial. My parents are paying money, kicking out dough for this school, and they're going to come and endanger me.
The argument on campus was over the impact of the list and the motivations behind it. Was it a racist act or not?
You think he intentionally did that to hurt you in any way?
No one's saying it was intentional. I'm not judging his character. The point is, in the position he's in, he should be removed. Totally.
Dr. Hartmark wasn't removed, but he was suspended for a month without pay and demoted. He declined to go on camera, but told us he acted in good faith. The college president was recovering from heart surgery when the list was released. He returned to face the controversy. Do you think that Dr. Hartmark's action was racist?
I don't want to comment on that because I can't get into his mind at the time when he made the decision.
Well, you know him and we don't. What do you think?
I believe that it was certainly a decision he would not make again.
Was that a racist act or was it just stupidity?
I'll go with stupidity. And I said that the case is, and there's a thin line between racism and stupidity. Stupidity is something you don't think about, you just do. Racism's a lot like that too.
Kevin Slater was hired by the college to help resolve the conflict. He lives in Oneonta and is a specialist in reducing racial tension, usually advising Fortune 500 companies.
They didn't even think about it. They didn't do it out of a planned, organized, clannish behavior. They didn't sit down and make up and go like, how can we go get those brothers? They didn't think about it at all. That's where the pain is.
As the controversy spread off campus, many people in town were shocked by the charges of racism. The local paper received dozens of letters from people who could not understand why black students were so angry.
I feel that the students are making much more of this blacklist than is warranted. It was a list of very few people to assist the police officers. I still do not understand, I'm indignant, why they did not cooperate in every possible manner. Again, I say they have a chip on their shoulder.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of always hearing about the blacklist. And if the students would let bygones be bygones, then it would just end.
When my rights are violated, it is an issue, and it is going to be heard. And I'm going to let the, alarm sound, because it needs to sound. Every time you violate my rights, I'm going to let you know and everyone around me know.
A lot of you came up here because you wanted to escape all the crime in the city. You wanted to escape the chaos in the city. You thought it was safer up here. Could it be that this kind of thing is the price that you pay for this safety?
If you want safety, you get an alarm system. I don't have to give up my rights just to feel safe up here.
Despite the criticism, black students found a measure of support among townspeople, as well as one unexpected sympathizer.
That was a blatant violation of human dignity and human rights.
You do think their rights were violated?
I do, yes. But I don't know what the alternative way should have been of investigating.
But limited community support was not enough. The students felt that their case was not taken seriously by the college or by police officials. As the controversy became more polarized, it escalated to a new level.
The constitutional rights of
6 months after the original crime, the American Civil Liberties Union announced a class action lawsuit charging the state police, city police, and the college with violating the civil rights of all the black men who were questioned. Scott Fine represents the students in the case.
There are approximately 350 black males in the city of Oneonta. They admitted that they interviewed approximately 300. I think they did a very, very thorough job. Illegal, unconstitutional.
Did you have any idea at the time this list was generated that it would be deemed racially offensive by some people?
No, none whatsoever at the time, Michelle. We were trying to solve a crime. We were trying to solve a very serious crime.
How are your civil rights violated by cooperating in a police investigation and answering a few questions? If you didn't commit the crime, you don't have anything to worry about. It's just like I wouldn't consider my rights violated if they came to me and got a list of white people and asked me.
In a police state, what they did was quite reasonable. We don't have a police state here. The Constitution places a premium on personal privacy and not police efficiency.
10-4-22-14.
Oneonta is a far cry from a police state. In fact, such a sweeping investigation is a rare event because there are few major crimes reported here. The usual offenders in town are rowdy students in the college bars and streets downtown. This is a town where most residents know and support the local police.
I was brought up in the suburbs, and I see a policeman as somebody that's always been helpful to me, that I can rely on. I have a friend or two that are policemen.
You got to understand the context that we placed this whole incident in. I travel throughout Brooklyn all the time. Brothers get killed all the time. You know what I mean? Resisting arrest. They get killed. I mean, it's not a far-fetched thing for us. We didn't grow up in Lilyville or anything. If a cop comes up to you and you don't cooperate with him, the end result could be that you're dead.
If I would have reacted like, nah, I'm not showing you my hands, I'm out of here, and I'd have started to leave, they'd have grabbed me, and I'd say, get off me, and I'd have ran out of pure fear, what would have happened? 2 bullets in the back, slap on the table, my mom's coming to see me in the morgue. I didn't want that.
Some people believe whatever the police do is right because they are protected. And if you see police officers as your protectors, you can justify any behavior. But if you have been trained and educated and treated that police officers are insurrectionists for you, then you don't trust what police officers do. And the case becomes that some of us felt protected and some of us felt like it was an insurrection.
With the crime still unsolved, many town residents don't feel quite as safe as they used to. And many black students don't feel safe either, now that they know how easily they can be turned from neighbors into suspects.
Do you think that some people here feel threatened by black people?
I think people feel threatened because of what's in the general atmosphere, not here, but in the world. I think people are suspicious of people that they don't know. And I know that if you grow up never knowing someone who's black, and your images of black are formed by the riots in Los Angeles, or of gangbang shootings, or of all the other sort of horrible things about crack and poverty that the inner cities keep producing, the images that those cities produce, certainly that's going to be on your mind since you have nothing to compete with it.
I have seen students from Suco on the streets dressed in a manner which is much more suitable for tough areas of New York, in clown costumes practically, the hats on backwards like the boys in the hood, or wearing a hooded shirt like this and short cut-off pants, many colored. Their attitude is arrogant.
Go to cross the street or something, you know. Next thing you hear, you know, saying all the car door locks. You know, you walk by a car, all the lights go down, you know. If you walk down the street, you see, you know, white lady walking down the street. She grab her bag tightly and walking. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's just that feeling. You know.
You all are laughing. Does that happen to all of you? You heard the car door snap?
You know how many times I heard that? You know what I'm saying? Power locks.
Are the people here racist?
The people here are racist in the same way that people anywhere are racist. That's one thing that bothers me about this story, is that all of a sudden Oneonta is a racist community. And I've challenged people who've come to report on it. I say, I'll go find you more racists in Queens, or in St. Louis, or in Detroit.
Is this a racist town?
No more than America. No more than America itself. If America is racist, then this is a racist town. If America has points of dialogue, then this place has points of dialogue. So are there positive things going to come out of this? A lot. It's a wake-up call for the town. It's a wake-up call for the state. And it may be a wake-up call in this little way for the entire nation.
As a result of all this, there have been some changes in Oneonta. For one, some residents have asked the NAACP to open a chapter there, and the city itself has begun recruiting minority candidates for a position on the police force. As for the man who committed the crime in the first place, he's never been found.
Coming up on Day One, Starstruck Memories.
I like to photograph sides or angles or aspects of my subjects that are different from what the public generally sees.
From a photographer in love with the world of jazz, when Day One continues.
I'm a manufacturer's rep, and I'm here meeting a client for the first time. He's a little nervous that I'm spreading myself too thin. I've got clients in 5 other states, so I'm here to reassure him. We all carry SkyTel, so you can reach me whenever you need me. All you have to do is dial my personal 800 number, 2. You'll hear my voice, and you can record a message, and this will notify me. When I play back your message, I'll know exactly what you need.
So you're covering 5 states in just one phone number?
Just one phone number.
I'm impressed.
To talk about the SkyTel system and what it can do for your company, call 1-800-SkyTel.
I think he's feeling better now.
It is a responsive dual overhead cam engine, but it's not a Mercedes. It is a highly advanced multiple link suspension system, but it's not a BMW. And it has an airbag with terminals plated in gold, but it's not a Lexus. It's an entirely different kind of luxury sedan. It's an affordable one, the Nissan Altima. It's time to expect more from a car.
The power of gold is the power to clean. Eureka Powerline. New 8.5 big amps. Attachments on board to clean anywhere. Traps the dirt, keeps it here. New Powerline by Eureka.
When you suffer from allergies, you want the powerful relief you get from Tavist One. And now it's available without a prescription. Tavist One and Tavist D. 1 tablet, 12 hours, no prescription.
Los Angeles, the near future. Harry Wyckoff is an ambitious attorney who has it all, but Harry wants more. Greed is about to trap him between good and evil, between the defenders of freedom
You begged for this life.
and their oppressors, a corrupt elite seizing power through intimidation, seduction, and mind control. The press calls it terrific.
I want to know what they did to my baby.
Wild Palms, next.
America's given the world at least one original art form, jazz. Jazz is more than just music, it's a feeling, an image evoked by musicians like Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, Lena Horne, Charlie Parker, and Miles Davis. While they were defining their music, someone else was watching from the sidelines, a witness, with a camera. A man who says he had one of the best jobs in the world. 52nd Street, New York City, the jazz capital of the world.
New York in the 50s was like a fairy tale because all of my idols were there. Duke Ellington, Count Basie Band, Billy Eckstine, Sarah Vaughan, you know, just the best. They had a comic, dancers, singers, and a big band at every theater. And the band used to rise up out of the pit, just burning, you know, and it was like magic.
This is the story of one man's extraordinary love for the music and the people who made it. Photographer Herman Leonard.
I'm what I consider a very, very rich person. I have the experiences of having been able to associate myself with people like Joe Williams and Duke Ellington and Basie and hanging out with them. And the experiences that I had with them are very privileged. How many people can do that? You know, and if it wasn't for the camera, I never would have had a chance to do that, ever.
Herman always looked like a bebopper. He looked like a player, and he had the attitude of a player, and musicians can tell that. They could feel Herman was inside, you know, because it was his love, it was the music he loved, and he put his own special trademark on whatever he shot.
A tinkling piano in the next apartment.
I like to photograph sides of my subjects that are different from what the public generally sees. If they're grimacing and if they're, you know, emoting visually that it really comes across, that's what I try to capture.
But the world almost didn't get to see Leonard's photographs. By the early 60s, rock and roll had replaced jazz in the hearts of the young audiences. One by one, the clubs closed their doors, the musicians drifted away, and Leonard took his photographs and stuffed them in a box under his bed. It was nearly 30 years before he thought of them again.
I was living on an island in the Mediterranean with my children and my wife, and they needed to get off the island to have a better education, and I had no money.
Hoping that the world might be interested in his personal history of jazz, Leonard took his photographs to galleries in New York and Paris, but everyone turned him down. No one, it seemed, was interested in a 65-year-old photographer looking for his first show.
So I went to London, and one day I was walking by Portobello Road, and there was this little gallery called the Special Photographers Company. And a very pretty lady was sitting at the desk, and I said, Jesus, I'm going to walk in and try. And I told her about the pictures, and she said, let me talk to my associates. And 4 days later, she came up and tapped me on the shoulder and says, we're going to do your show. And I was over the moon about it. From March to June, I was in that darkroom, digging out negatives, making selections, finding things I didn't even know I had. And when I walked in there that first night, I hadn't the vaguest idea that any of this would go over. 10,000 people came through the gallery. Old people, young people, teenagers. A teenager never heard of Charlie Parker, but here they were.
Over the next 3 years, Leonard had over 50 shows, and the reaction everywhere was the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Williams.
Every day I have the blues. You see me worried, baby, 'cause it's you I hate to lose. Nobody loves me. Nobody sees.
I never lost the thrill of putting a blank piece of paper in a solution and having an image come up. It's such a thrill to see this thing, you know, it's magic. All right. If you can look at a picture that I shot 40 years ago or today and look at it later and get some of the atmosphere that was there at the moment I shot it, that's all the legacy I care about.
But Leonard will get much more than that. These photographs, which sat under his bed for 30 years, have recently been made part of the permanent collection of the Smithsonian Institution in Washington. And 7 months ago, at the age of 69, Leonard set out to fulfill another of his lifelong dreams. He moved to New Orleans and started a new project. He plans now to do for the blues what he's done for jazz.
I think anybody that becomes a recipient of him turning his eye on you and using his imagination, his judgment, you know, of how to shoot you, is a very lucky person, because it's a powerful eye.
Does your full commission broker have you trapped in fees? Fees for trading, fees for not trading, even exit fees when you close your account. There is a better way. Charles Schwab has accounts with no annual fees and a wide variety of mutual funds with no loads. And for a limited time, this unique offer.
We'll rebate your exit fees when you move your account to Schwab.
If you feel trapped in fees,
maybe it's time to come to Schwab.
It may not seem entirely practical to put a V6 in a mid-size sedan, but that's how we built the Mazda 626 ES, because we thought looking good in the fast lane might appeal to you.
The Interplaque Power Toothbrush proved better than manual brushing in 20 clinical studies. This can miss between teeth, but Interplaque's powerful twisting bristles clean teeth nearly plaque-free. Interplaque powers away gingivitis.
Both Visa and American Express Gold cards can get you to England for the golf vacation of your life.
Charlie, how did your yank do?
Well, we're up on the 9th sea, and he wants to be up in 2, so he puts everything he's got into the shop, including his new graphite driver.
But should you have a stroke of bad luck, only Visa Gold can get you back on course, because Cape Cornwall's only pro shop doesn't take American Express.
Keep a grip on it.
Visa Gold, it's everywhere you want to be.
Tuesday, Darlene's future plans put Roseanne on the warpath.
I've been watching you like a hawk. Well, hawks don't generally pass out on the couch after eating a quart of ice cream.
Is Darlene leaving the nest on the season finale of Roseanne, followed by a special night of home improvement? Tuesday. Wednesday, it's a look at the Brady Bunch then and now.
I hated the clothes that we had to wear in the Brady Bunch.
Find out why it's not just a TV show, it's a phenomenon.
Far out.
Brady Mania, a very Brady special, Wednesday.
That's our program for tonight. Before we go, a couple of notes about our schedule. We're taking 2 weeks off, and when we return, you'll see us on a new day of the week, Monday night, June 7th, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll see you then. From all of us here at ABC News, good night.
If you wish to receive a transcript, please send $7 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203.
Day One is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Wednesday, Bob Vila's back for the Race of the Repairmen.
Did you put a jet engine on a lawnmower?
Sooner or later, somebody was going to put them together.
The season finale of Home Improvement. Then, this is it. The honest-to-goodness, no fooling wedding of the year.
Then it's all settled.
Hayden and Christine finally take the plunge. Coach, a night of season finales. Wednesday.